This is Jim Delapine, and I'd like to do this video demo for you to help you accomplish your magazine cover swap activity called Freaky Friday. Rather an odd name, but it is what it is. So you've got a considerable amount of work to do here, and I'm going to help you with that. You're being asked to come up with two fictitious designs for two separate magazine covers, set them up in InDesign, acquire a subject asset that will be duplicated or used for both covers, and also discuss how each magazine brand relates to different consumers, etc., etc. So just note that there are 4 bullet-pointed questions that you need to address that is in the learning module. So I'm going to kind of try to simplify this as much as possible and show you, in case you're not familiar with Photoshop, I want to show you a Photoshop method on what I use to isolate this image here, the central image that I got from Google. And let me just show you how I acquired that. So what I did was I found that the link that they sent you, the images are a variety of sizes, and you really want to pin down a good quality image size. So I simply went to Google, which is one of their suggestions. Okay, and I typed in Tom Cruise, and I just chose randomly Tom Cruise, no particular reason. I then clicked on images, and I then went to search tools, because note that each of these images are a variety of sizes. So this one's only 214 by 317 pixels, and you want something large. Keeping in mind that you are dealing with something that's for print, and anything that will be printed as a photograph or a bitmap image has to be a minimum of 300 pixels per inch. So what I did was I click on search tools, you can click on size, and I would go to larger than, and something 2 megapixels, 1600 by 1200 would be suitable. And you'll note as you hover over these that there are a variety of sizes and they're all quite large. So my suggestion is to choose something that has an easy background, something that's not complicated, like something like this image here. Here has a lot of busyness in the background. So, let's work with this image here. Okay, so I'll click on this, and then I will click on View Image. This is actually a cool picture. I'll click it again, and then right-click and copy the image. Okay, I'll then bounce over to Photoshop, and then hit Control or Command N. Once you copy something into the clipboard, by default, when you create a new document, it's giving you the exact size of the image that's copied. Okay, so I'll hit OK, and then I'll hit Paste. I'll Control V. All right, so you can see that's the exact size of the image that was copied. And if I bring over my Layers panel and bring up my tools, what I'm going to do is show you how to basically cut this out so that you can go through the process of designing the magazine cover. You have to do your own design, come up with your own fictitious name, and then you can simply paste this image into your design. So note here, I use the same images for each. This was the center image is the one I started out with. I isolated the background and copy and pasted it into this background here. Okay, but note that all the text has to be done by you. It's a fictitious name, although I must admit that Total Film is an existing magazine that I stole, but for use of the demo, I just wanted to simplify things. And I just stole a little skew image and pasted that in there, came up with my own text. So you have to kind of design it, and so this particular assignment covers a lot of different areas. It forces you to quickly design, work with InDesign, and now you're going to be working with Photoshop. So I'm going to simplify this, and let me go back here to Photoshop and go to that image. And what I'm going to do is this. I want to basically isolate the background from the subject. So I would suggest doing this. First of all, getting an image that has a nice simple background. I'm going to use one of my favorite tools, which is the Quick Selection tool. And I'm going to click on the background because it's a flat area here. Okay, so that kind of gives me a nice quick selection. It went a little bit too far over here, so if you hold down the Alt or Option key and click again, you can kind of subtract that area again. So there's a basic rule of thumb. The Shift key will add to and constrain, and the Alt or Option key will duplicate or subtract from. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is inverse the selection. Right now, everything else but Tom Cruise is selected. So if I hit Shift F7, It now inverses, and now only he is selected. Now what you're going to do is you need to be in any selection tool. And so if I go to the marquee tool here, I note that I have a refine edge button available to me at the top. I'm going to click on that. Okay, so this comes up with so you now see the refine edge dialog box here. I don't want to get into too much detail, but I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. But I thought this was a good image because you have fine wisps of hair that surround his head, and we're going to isolate that. What you want to do is, first of all, just to keep this really simple, I'm going to make sure that the refine radius tool is active. Okay, so once that's active, I'm going to come out here, and my brush size is not large enough, so I'm going to increase it, and that takes a little bit of experimentation, but you don't want to go too large and too small. You want to kind of find the middle line, and how that's defined is if it's too large and you go over the image too much, you may start to remove some of the imagery. So you basically want to click and drag around the outer edge, all right, trying not to touch the image. And I'm just dragging along here, and you don't see anything dramatically change, but all of a sudden you'll see wisps of hair that you want to kind of bring into view, and just my cursor is being held down. So I'm dragging over these areas here, okay, and I'm just slowly painting, and my cursor is held down, and I'm going to outline the entire image, taking care not to go onto the subject too much with my cursor. All right, so your fingers kind of cramp up, so at this point I'm going to let go. All right, so you can notice all those wisps of hair came into play here, as opposed to this looks like it was being like cut out with a pair of scissors. So you want to really get a nice image here. So I'm going to start off where I left off from it the last time, or where I started from the last time, and click and drag and start dragging down here. So Photoshop has amazing capabilities these days, and this is a feature that just, it blew my mind. You know, this is incredible. And now I'll let go. All right, so here's what we have. So now what you want to do is this. We're going to output this for the drop-down menu at the bottom. I'm going to click on the drop-down menu. I'm going to say New Layer with Layer Mask. What that will do is duplicate the layer and isolate the background and create a layer mask. Okay. So I will now hit OK to that. And you'll note that it created that new layer and isolated it into the background here. And for example, if I put in a new layer here and fill that with black just for drama, you'll see what it did there. Note that any retouching should always be done in RGB. However, it gets converted to CMYK for the printing process. RGB is for viewing purposes, red, green, and blue. CMYK has to do with print. It represents ink, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay, so the next step is this. I can do one of several things. I can simply copy and paste this, okay, or I can save this as a separate document. I'm going to create a document that will be a PNG file, which will recognize the transparency of the file. So I'm going to right-click on the layer mask and apply it. Okay, so now there's no more layer mask, and now what I'll do is I will select both of these bottom layers, delete them. So what I have is Tom Cruise on a transparent background. I will then go to File, Save As, and save this as a PNG file, which is a file that will recognize transparency. And I will call this Tom C. And oops, I selected GIF. I want PNG right here, PNG. Okay. And I will save it into my magazine assets and hit save. And then I'm just going to accept the default. Okay. So now the next step is this. I will go to InDesign. Okay, let me create a new document, and I'll show you how. I don't have my imagery set up now. This is a new document, so let me just show you a new document and how to set this up. So let's just say you have to determine the magazine cover size. So let's just say it's 8.5 by 11 since it came up here. So I'm going to make sure that I have 2 pages, all right, because you have 2 magazine covers, so we're going to have 2 pages. So we're going to uncheck facing pages. I'm just going to make this a blank canvas and tab, and I now have a blank canvas. I will hit OK. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring up my layers panel, F7. Okay, notice it's the same shortcut whether you're in Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop. F7 will hide and show your layers panel. So I'm going to create a shape that will just be filled with a color, just so I can show you the results of the transparency. I'll lock that and create another new layer, and then I will place Tom into the document here. So that being said, so now you're going to be creating your one magazine cover design on one page, and then on your second page is where you will create your second design. Okay, and then the end result will be 2 pages here. Okay, which is what I did here. And then what you're going to do is go to File, Export, click Save, and replace it. And then, I have marks and bleeds with crop marks already created in that, so I think that's a good something that you should have, although it's not necessary for this because it's a magazine exercise. It's not being set up for printing purposes. So just make sure you embed the page thumbnails and hit Export, and then you will have 2 pages. And this is what I expect to see, and this is what needs to be uploaded to the your swap activity area. So I hope that helped. I know this is kind of a crazy assignment, but in actuality it's a really interesting assignment because it gives you a lot of different areas to delve into with regards to designing in Photoshop, designing period, with regards to designing a magazine cover. Look at magazine covers and how they're designed and emulate what they did. I hope that helped, guys. Take care. Bye.